or, or widely researched. So I'm Tass Schmidt, and this is a subject that's been close to my heart for many, many years, and now it's become my world, along with there's lots of other things in the world, but they all relate to essentially aging and aging well. So I'm not sure how you're going there, Faith, with the presentation. I can keep going with.
You know what, Taz, can you share it on yours? Now I'm having issues sharing it on mine. So if you do it on yours again.
Yeah, sure. Okay,
we can swap over.
Okay, where are we? Zoom. There you are. Okay, so I'm just going to share this. Just bear with me again. So can you see that? Faith, you're muted.
No, we can't see it.
Oh. Okay,
we have to apologize, ladies. We actually had all of this set up before you came on. This is so frustrating. Please keep trying and I'll keep trying mine. Please hang in there with us. We had everything ready.
So I can actually only now see you in the Zoom, Faith. There you are. Okay, so I'm going to share again. Faith, you're muted. And here we go. Okay. It's telling me only one participant can share at a time, according to this.
Now, can everyone see Taz's slide?
Yep.
All right.
Perfect. Can you see my notes and all the rest of it there, or is it?
No.
Yes, we can. I can.
Okay, so how will we proceed here? Should we just proceed?
Tell me when to move to the next one, yeah?
Yeah, well, I can do all of that from here because I'm now sharing this screen.
So go ahead.
Okay, let's just get started. And sorry about this, everyone, but it's not going to change the content or upset the content. So I've already explained that body image and aging is an important issue for us. But before we get into that, let's just me give a bit of a rundown of who I am. So Faith, can you change the slide, please?
So I'm changing the slides.
Okay.
I'm on slide 3 right now.
Well, we should be on slide 2. Who's Taz?
I was on slide 2. Now I'll go back to slide 2.
Yeah, if we can go back to there, we'll just run through from there, okay?
I got it too.
So, I'm a pro-ager and a transformation coach, and my whole focus is on aging. So I grew up in the bush, and I always had really big plans for myself, and I don't know where it really came from, because my background was pretty basic, to be honest with you, not very well educated parents, not early education, not that great for myself. But I always had this drive. It was kind of a cavalier, and I kind of brought myself up in a way. Mum and dad weren't all that present. And as many of my vintage I hear in Australia, I spent a lot of time in cars, outside pubs, along country roads, being told that children are seen and not heard. And really that was how it all started. So I had a body, through years of observation and writing and thinking and being troubled myself, I have realized in later life that I grew up with a very significant body image issue. And in a way, I was actually really lucky. I got lots of assets, I guess, but it was complete waste because I really lacked confidence. And on this slide, I think, the why me slide, is that what you can see? I hope. There's an image of me on the left, looking like I've just walked out of a concentration camp, and then 20 years later on the right, when I had put on a lot of weight and not feeling happy about myself. Now, keep in mind, this isn't all about weight. Body image could be anything from anything you think you're not, it's not good about you physically. That could be weight. It could be my nose is too big, my feet are too big, I'm too short, I'm too tall, I'm just too much or not enough of so many things. As an example, that fellow that you can see in the middle of the photograph up the top was a guy I had a ridiculous obsession with for about 4 or 5 years. And I was very skinny when I was going out with him, or not one of the many that were going out with him. And he didn't like thin women. So, you can't win. That's how I used to feel about it. But it was a complete preoccupation. And body image in a way is personal abuse. So we make up a lot of stuff in our lives that just doesn't serve us. And as I said, not being enough or being too much is certainly part of that. So if we go to slide 4 now, I can just give a bit of a run through on what we're doing in today's masterclass. Can I just check, is everyone with me now? Can you see the slides? And
Yes.
yeah, awesome, thank you. So, and there'll be a chance for questions at the end or to express, your position on this. Look, many people are comfortable with their body age, and that's wonderful. But many, many, many more are not. In fact, it's considerably more than a half. So today we're going to cover a lot of elements of this. So looking at it in the context of body image generally and where the issues arise, but also about our own relationship with our body image as we age. And I just love this image of this old tree. That tree is 5,000 years old, and there's lots of many thousands of years old when you think about that as a producing organism. That's phenomenal. And so even though we're probably not going to live for 5,000 years, we're going to live a long time. And, why wouldn't we want to make an effort to keep, as an analogy, producing fruit of some kind, and fruit in terms of energy? So today we'll talk through the big picture of body image, the context of it, and aging. The physical and mental impacts are significant, and let's look at who and what's responsible. There are different cultural, I guess, imperatives around the world, and also, look at what our relationship with our body is and embracing change, and some role models and inspirations, and then we'll start talking about your onward journey. Next slide, please. So before we begin, we're just going to take a minute because I want everyone to come to the room. So you've all brought, whatever was going on for you this morning to the room today. And this little exercise is just to slow it all down and really capture what's going on in your mind. So if everyone's comfortable with it, just to stay present and be here for this hour or so, a bit less than that now, for yourselves. And give you the best chance of taking something value out of it for yourselves. So if everyone's comfortable, would you just close your eyes for a minute and make sure you're comfortable in your chair or wherever you're sitting, and just eyes closed and just breathe in. Just 1, 2, 3, and just hold for a minute. And just gently out. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll just do that 2 more times. If you could just breathe in low and slow. 1, 2, 3. Hold. And just breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4. And just feel yourself relaxing. And 1 more time, just breathe in low and slow. 1, 2, 3, hold. And breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4. And just while you're in that state, relaxing, if you could just come up with 1 word now to capture how you would describe your body image, and just try to capture that feeling for a moment and just hold on to it. Just 1 word, and park it for later in the session. Perhaps write it down. Now, when you're ready, you can open your eyes and can come back to the room. Everyone's back. Okay. Faith, would you mind flicking to slide 6? Body image and self. Body image is an external and an internal way of viewing ourselves. When we are in our bodies, we call it in NLP speak being associated. So you're kind of seeing from within, you're looking within and viewing the world from that position. Dissociated means that you're outside and looking at yourself, for instance, like when you look at yourself in a mirror. So we can't talk about body image and aging without considering body sense and body image together, and in the context of how we view ourselves in the world. So body sense refers to the Body sense refers to the ability to feel and experience your internal body sensations, which includes maybe feeling sort of angry or upset, or just your general body functioning, your breathing, and so forth. And when you're doing that, when you're inside yourself, looking at yourself internally, in NLP we speak of that, as I said earlier, being associated. Our body sense emerges out of it's a physiological process called introspection. And the ongoing process, which is the ongoing processing of mapping our internal somatic sensations that the body's doing to maintain our physiology. It doesn't just happen, it's attended to and cultivated. For instance, if you consume too much and you feel bloated and horrible. So our habits in life that make us feel better or worse physically. Body image, on the other hand, is something that we start to be aware of ourselves externally when we're little kids. from about 2 to 3, when we first kind of go over to the mirror and go, oh, well, that's me, and try and recognize ourselves in that image. And even in all of life, that's often quite hard to do. I don't know if you've had that sensation of just looking at yourself and getting a sense, well, that's actually me. Sometimes it's quite difficult to do that. It's basically how we imagine our bodies and how we picture it in our mind's eye and imagine how other people are seeing ourselves as well. So it's the outside looking in, and it includes 3 things. Essentially, it's probably more, but 3 main things. That your estimate of how you appear. It could be your body proportions. It could be negative or positive feelings about your appearance and your general beliefs about body image and appearance. It's a constructed thing, and slowly over time is very dependent on the responses we get from elsewhere in the world, from our cultures, our families, our subcultures, and our life history, and a time in history as well. There are also, in considering body image, there are also some biologic drivers, and partly, that's to do when we're younger, of attracting a mate, a suitable mate for continuity of our species and our family line. You want somebody strong and secure. Perhaps it's to do with our security, and it's very cave person-y. It is my belief that to be possessive of a desired or a desirable body image in order to attract a mate, it's embedded into our psyche, and it remains a constant influencer to the way we view and value ourselves, even beyond when there's a biological imperative, and we've kind of become redundant in a way around that biological, i.e. what we view as we need to be in order to attract a mate for reproduction. At some point, obviously, for women getting older, that becomes redundant biologically. So most humans, like it or not, want to look good, regardless of their age. I have a friend, Rob, in New South Wales. When I told him what I was up to, he said, oh, yes, I know all about that. My 80-plus-year-old mum still laments about her big round belly. And my own mother's a perfect example of this as well. It doesn't go away. So one of the benefits of essentially making an effort for yourself around body image is it's a demonstration of self-care, and you actually do start to see yourself differently if you start looking after yourself instead of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. I even in my own situation in recent times, I have been, even the simple thing of cleaning my face at night, which essentially for years I haven't done. And I just feel better going to bed because I feel like I've just looked after myself. And it's just, that's what we have to get to. And that's regardless of age. Now, I forgot to write down this lovely woman's name, but I get deluged by everything to do with aging and aging with style, or aging successfully or whatever, because I knock myself out on social media around this. I am deluged by sites, and there's some rippers which I'll tell you about in a minute. But this lovely lady, and I forgot to write down her name, her quote in her interview is, I get dressed up today and put on lipstick, even though I have no place to go, because it makes me feel good. So she's making an effort for herself, and people notice. And I think it's a fine idea. So can we go to the next slide, please, Faith? So this is Taryn Brumford. She was the Australian of the Year in 2023. Now, she's a fantastic advocate for, you're great, whatever shape or size you are. And I think this whole body image distortion and the anguish it yields on people is so widespread and is causing so many people a lot of stress, regardless of age. In fact, in many cases, it gets worse with age because we often perceive that we've suffered loss or whatever as a result of it. Now, there's a reason. When I first saw that she'd been awarded Australian of the Year in 2023, I thought, well, what's that all about? But clearly, my assumption is that this is a huge societal issue, and she's taken it on. It impacts widely on the mental health of humans, and so why wouldn't she be Australian of the Year? Next slide, please. So, as far as body image goes, it seems it's often just the domain, well, regarded as the domain of youth, but in fact it's not. So it doesn't matter. It's a big issue in aging and a sense of well-being, having a sense of well-being. Let's look at the language to start with, the nomenclature. So how these afflictions play out in our lives is that they turn us from our true identity, our soul in a way. It addles, abstracts us, and so often causes us to undervalue ourselves at this poor body image issue. And mostly it's through comparisons to others that lead to that kind of can lead to a poor self-esteem, and in many a level of depression. This is a big point. And as I mentioned, it's not just a thing of youth. Largely, it's a whole of life issue. So obviously, that includes as you get older, but there's not much attention paid to it. The research tells us that if you get hooked early on in life, it's likely to go on for whole of life if you don't do something about it. The recent recent surveys, there's a massive one done by Melbourne University, I think, interviewed about 2,000 younger women. And in that most recent research, it's about 2 years ago, 90% expressed dissatisfaction with their aging, with their body. So, as I said, it's a lifelong thing unless you work on it. So in the main, people do like to look good, and the main, in terms of the conversation, it's about youth and how much that impacts on, I guess, the mental health, the emotional health, and so forth of younger people. It doesn't change with aging, and I think we have a right to be part of this general conversation. It's rampant, this body image issue, and it's affecting, as I said earlier, so many people. So one of the interesting things that came out of the research for me was that it impacts, yes, on women, mostly for whole of life, if it gets hold of you. It marginally improves a bit as you get older, maybe acceptance, maybe you start valuing yourself differently, which is a fine thing. But also we talk more and we put effort in more. For men, however, this is not the case. In fact, it actually declines. And partly the contributor to that is men tend to not congregate to talk, to support each other in those sort of more intimate ways. They certainly, on the whole, even though it's improving, don't seek help. And they tend not to work on themselves. There's a lot of masculine bravado that goes on. And then you throw erectile dysfunction in the mix, and that certainly doesn't help. So men are suffering from this as well. But there are some shifts. As I said earlier, I'm deluged by social media sites and so forth that interviews, images, and whatever of older people looking very sassy and gorgeous. The thing that I noticed a lot of, that they're often very thin, and as I said, which is way out of balance, I think, and seriously made up. With these two people on the screen here, I've heard, can't clarify it, that's actually an AI generated image. So it's not real, although there are plenty. I just thought it was interesting to put it up there once when I heard that it was an AI generated thing. But there are plenty of images, though, coming through that I see of real people of all shapes and sizes and looks, shining beautifully with a kind of an energy. And that's the energy, whether you're younger or older, what makes somebody, in my view, beautiful and attractive, and you want to be around them. So our body image really impacts on how we take ourselves to the world. And I'd argue that as we get older, we need to feel healthy and relevant, to take ourselves to the world with a pride. Now, that doesn't mean you have to kind of get dressed up like crazy every time you go out or whatever else, but to actually feel that you have something to offer, that you are an awesome human, regardless of your age. So regardless, body image has a huge impact on mental and physical health. Eating disorders like anorexia, for instance, is well on the rise in older people. And what goes with that it is a kind of a depression, a resignation, a diminished sense of self-identity. And of course, Silver Sirens, we were all about that not happening, but we're talking about the world in general and where the trends are lying. So along with that sort of slightly flat state, you don't feel like the buzz of stepping into a room anymore or whatever. There's a loss of energy, and social withdrawal often is part of it as well, because you're just not feeling good about yourself. And social withdrawal is a marker for and can contribute to cognitive decline. So I don't know if the message is getting across here. Poor body image is not a helpful or a desirable place to be, and not being bothered is a bad thing. That we have to, not being able to be bothered is something we really need to watch against. And my own mother, who's in her 90s now, is a prime example of that. Not attending to herself, can't be bothered and whatever. And now she basically sits in a nursing home, and every time I go in there, she said, when can it be over? And who wants to live their life like that? So, I thank my mum for that example, because it's not what I want moving forward. I am being bothered in my life, and I suggest that it's a good place to be. So it's not often really identified as this, but this might be a long bow, but poor body image promotes in us a fight or flight response, because it's a negative thing. It's something that's threatening or wrong or frightening, and it causes us stress and cortisol release. And this is not a good thing for us, for our health. Maintained over a long time puts a lot of strain on everything, as I'm sure you're aware. So it's also worth keeping in mind that different ages, in terms of time, historically, and cultures, have very different ideas of what beauty is. So we make it all up. And the other thing is, we're living longer. So it mightn't have been an issue if you're only going to live until you're like 50, 60, or even younger, 150, 200 years ago. But it is an issue more and more for us now, because we're simply living longer. So one of the, my 3 charters is to get very loud about calling the unconscious biases and language around aging in our society. So ageism is it's a frontier of the isms that's not being seriously tackled on a broad scale. And I think it's a serious social problem, and one in which faith is going some way to address with social sirens. Sorry, silver sirens. Next slide, please. Okay. So, who and what? Where did this all come from? They're crazy ideas. So mainly, if we're looking at body image, it's how we're viewing, how we see we're viewed in the world, and also how we're actually, to be honest, viewing other people. But in ourselves, it's mainly a response to the messages that we respond to, buy into, and compare ourselves to. For so many of the images in fashion magazines, for instance, are super skinny models. Now, often, but even that's younger, but also, as I said earlier, a lot of the images that are coming through about how fabulous this, 70, 80-year-old looks, they're often very skinny. Now, his view about this, and he was in the fashion industry, was a lot of the, and I hope I don't offend anyone here, so I'm just, don't shoot the messenger, right? His view is that a lot of the fashion designers, the gay fashion designers, are designing for prepubescent boys. And now it's a horrible thing to think, but, maybe it has some merit. Now, and also Tom Ford, I don't know how much you follow the fashion industry, but he's a bit of an icon in the fashion industry. He said that the images in fashion magazines, they're enhanced reality. They're actually not real. They're escapist. Why we will want to, have that as escapist, but it's true. And the sad thing is that apparently, well, as of last year anyway, this trend towards super skinny, as I said, body image isn't all about skinny, but it's a big one, is coming back, and I think it's appalling. So even though we buy into this, or we desire these images about what is acceptable or desirable or possible and considered realistic, it's actually all made up. It's a fantasy. And that fantasy impacts on our well-being and our self-acceptance and our self-love, our confidence and energy, and frankly, the way we look and the energy that we exude. It can be a torturous thing until we make peace with it. And I think that's one of the, it's a challenge, and also it's a call for us as we're aging, to actually have a good relationship with our body is a great thing to take into our futures as we're aging, and we all are. So even the ones, so this is the stupid thing, even the ones that absolutely comply with those images are renowned for having major imagined imperfections. So, there's no winning here if you follow that route. The other thing that I've noticed is I think we have to be really watchful. I said it earlier, is that one of my missions is to call out this unconsidered language, is to challenge people around what they say. Even the best intentions often are insults and contributors to ageism around body image. As an example, there's a great book, Ashton Applewhite, This Chair Rocks. One of her call outs, and you may have heard it yourselves, I have, said, "Wow, you look so great for your age." And her response is, "Gosh, so do you." So it's that whole thing, this is embedded here. So we're all dealt with different set of physical characteristics and how we see ourselves, and we make comparisons and we absorb messages. Yet we are who we are. We are unique. Our body is just a house. if you can think more and more about that it's just a physical thing that we occupy as we move around in the world. So, and then this is one of my bugbears, and I know that you Faith too have an issue with it, and why not? So it's the anti-aging industry. I mean, we've simply got to kind of push hard to get that language changed, because it makes aging sound something to be avoided, and that's just a stupid thing, because it's not possible. We can't avoid aging, and why would we want to? It's kind of anti-aging. Like, you look, all the big brands have like, anti-aging this and anti-aging that, and don't age and whatever. It's just ridiculous. And it's kind of like it's some sort of, well, I've got fungal infection or something that you can cure. You can't cure aging. It's a reality. We are aging. I think another one that I kind of is a big favorite is there are lots of images and commentary in the media around Pierce Brosnan and his wife Keely. And they appear in these images down the bottom right-hand side of the screen to be very much in love. And he very publicly celebrates the body and what her body and what it's given him in life. And yet, like their children, their lovely life together. And yet the media and numerous celebrity commentators and mean gossips and critics and so forth ask the question, oh, why is she with him? Well, I mean, sorry, the other way around. Why is he with her? Shaming her, and it's appalling. Next slide, please. So, change and difference. I'd like to point. Can I interrupt? I can hear somebody talking in the background. Is that?
I've just muted them.
Oh, good, thanks. Sorry.
Just a reminder too, you've got 7 minutes if you want to do questions.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. The rest is quick. So change and difference. So change is part of life. You'll see here the famous model Carmen del Orifice, and she's she's a glamour puss, but it's just beautiful at any age. And I love these Japanese ladies, like funky out there, tattooed to the gills, and presenting what they want to the world. And I suggest that that's what we need to do, present what we want to the world, and perhaps sometimes that might take some effort. So it's part of life change. It's part of nature, and we're all different, and the differences that occur in us are evolving, and also our minds, as we have an opportunity to forge a new relationship with our body, maybe for the first time ever, a positive one, as we're getting older and we know more, and enjoy life. So we're not less, we're more. We're not less, we're different. And we're not old, we're thriving at being a human being. Almost as if what used to cause, what we're striving for, the things that, the feelings that we were not enough, it doesn't matter anymore. Being present is what we need to do. Some time ago, I put a Facebook image of myself from 23 years ago to personalize this negative body image being a source of personal dissatisfaction then as now. And I raised this suggestion that an aging body image is making a lot of people feel unhappy as they age. And my friend Karen in Canada said, well, she's forever grateful because it's given her a chance to change all of that relationship and take control and put herself first, and making the changes that she needs to or wants to make inside or out. So if you haven't already, get on the train. treat yourself like a garden, make an effort and pamper and dress and take care and align with what you want and how you want to be regarded by yourself and others, and nurture that and enjoy it and show off and show up. Martha Stewart's another excellent example. She just poo-poos people who go like the whole mutton dress as lamb thing. She says, I will wear whatever I like. And I think that's great. And there's some great sites that I look at. One of them is Glorious Broads. Another one is Advanced Style. Can we move on? So I'll whiz through these because I think we've covered a lot of it already. So more years, more love. So this is the wonderful Bethan Hardison. She's a model, writer, activist, and producer, and living life. And her view is, as you get older, try a lot of gratitude and thank your hands and thank your feet and thank your knees and thank everything, because it's actually given you a lovely life so far and will to the future. We don't want all of this stress. We don't want all of the cortisol release. And the best way to do that is to fall in love with ourselves and our body image. In Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life, he presents, and I've really observed this, is posture is a really, really thing to take care of if as we're growing older. And it impacts on our relationships as well. So can you just think about, as you know, you leave the room today, sort of, what do you love about your body image? Think about it and become aware of it. Next slide, please. So it's just, your body image is just the tip of the iceberg. That's you. We occupy a physical body, sure, but it's not who we are. And so, but a negative body image can really impact on who we think we are. So really take note of your assets. Next slide, please. So I've got here, sort of the how-to section, if you like, is that if you want to change things about yourself, I'd suggest taking note of what it is about you that's great and what you would like to change, and get very specific. And then you're either going to come to peace with it, make peace with it, or make change. But if you do want to make change, how are you going to measure that change? And question, can you actually achieve it? Is it possible for you? For instance, if you're a tiny little thing, you're probably going to hardly be a high jumper. Not that you probably do as you're aging, but that, as a metaphor. So the thing I always talk to with clients about is you're where you are now, and you have a picture of where you want to get to, so you need to be clear about that picture. So why aren't you getting there? And usually there are unconscious blocks. So there's lots of tools and support and resources you can access. NLP and timeline therapy has been very helpful to me, and that's what I use in my own practice. And I think you have to be very clear about your whys and your why nots. And one thing that I counsel people is, let's just say you have a vision of something that you want to be doing in the future. It's not just the vision, it's how will you be feeling in that vision? And also be clear about, how much time you're prepared to put in, and is it really all that important to you? And going through this exercise of actually mapping out what you want is sometimes you go, actually, maybe I don't really want it. And that draws me to the end. So I'm Tass Schmidt. I'm an NLP, accredited NLP coach, hypnotherapist, timeline therapist, and Reiki-ist. And I walk the talk. I feel it's absolutely essential for me to show up and be the things that I do. So it's a for life thing. I suggest, make peace with her. She's your friend, and it's lovely to fall in love with who you are. It doesn't matter what place you're at, making an effort to fall in love. and just engage in that relationship. Put some time into yourselves. And that draws me to the end, except that now in the chat, if you could put your, I'm going to close this screen down now, and hopefully I can get back into the, so Faith, could you unshare that screen and unmute yourself? And can you guide me through this, because I actually can't see. I can see you, Faith, but I can't see the other
Okay,
folks.
you can't see everyone else. Okay, I'm not sure why that is, but okay, well, I can see everyone else, so I'll just let you know. So just unmute yourself. Jalinda, why don't you unmute yourself and just share back to, because I know you've written in the chat. Okay, so Jalinda, I'm going to hand over to Jalinda.
Okay, Jalinda.
Sorry, I was busy typing in the chat. So can you repeat a question I'm supposed to answer? I possibly missed the specific topic.
Oh, it was just about earlier on, I asked you to kind of come up with a word.
Oh, write a word down. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I
So
did. I wrote down unique.
That's great.
For me, it's about, I keep coming back to that old Dr. Seuss quote, no one is newer than you. And so if you embrace your individuality and your individual style, then there is no comparing, competing, copying, and wondering whether you're measuring up to some other one else's standards. You simply rock your unique stripes.
And is that something that you've has been something that's been with you for most of your life, or is it something, you know, is it that pot of gold that you found later in life? Tell me about that.
I found it probably earlier in life than some, because I had a unique upbringing and I was very much an individual as an adopted child. So I grew my own strength around individuality and not having to be like anyone else that I was being raised around or with. And so there's a strong inner personal power around that. But as I got older, understanding and dropping the whole, you know, comparing shit that women do, and, you know, competing and feeling like, oh, I'm not quite size 12 anymore. And, you know, what does that compare to someone else wearing the same style of dress? You know, I just dropped all of that. I think probably in my 40s, as I started to get a bit sort of, you know, menopausal in shape, just rock the crap out of who you are.
Yeah, it's so true. It actually doesn't matter. That's the thing. It actually doesn't matter that you're a size, you know, 16, you know, what I'm not talking about you. It doesn't matter. But what matters is the energy you take with that. So if you know, slump into a room and kind of whatever, you're not attractive at all. It doesn't matter who, it's just, and you don't feel it yourself. Whereas if you've just dropped all of that, just your true energy shines through. And that doesn't matter how old, it doesn't matter how old you are. It's not an aging thing.
Yeah. I love when you were talking before about, you know, that I think you mentioned Ashton Applewhite. She's someone I follow as well. And, you know, when someone says you look good for your age, the most important thing is to drop the last part of that, just say you look good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not for your age, because you're actually putting a negative or a comparison in there when you add those last few words. So I usually just turn around and say, I'm really happy to look and feel I'm 62 this year. So I'm happy to look and feel, you know, my age, 62 rocks, you know, or 72 rocks or whatever. And just, you know, let them know that I'm proud of the age I am and what I'm doing in that skin. And the other, just quick, I'll mention it before you move on to someone else, is that campaign, if you're not aware of it, you know, what's it called? It's from Ageism is Never in Style, but the campaign was called I Look My Age, hashtag I Look My Age, I think it was. And there was a whole heap of videos that went up through it. I think it was mid last year, whole heap of videos, women, all different shapes, sizes, looks, but they were saying, my name is Jalinda and I'm 62 and I look my age. Okay, and that's all they had to say. And, you know, you'd have lots of 62-year-olds, lots of 70-year-olds, all looking different, but they looked their age, their way.
Awesome. Is that an Australian thing? I haven't
Yeah,
come
it
across
is. Yeah, it is. No, I think it might have come from
I
America.
think it's American.
Yeah,
I think it's
Ageism and
American.
Style is American, and I think they were the ones that
Yeah.
that's kind of like a group that organised the campaign, but it went global. It was viral.
Oh, well, I'll check it out. Well, another one, if people just want to take a quick note, and I mentioned it earlier, I just love, there's one site I love, is Glorious Broads. And it's just, I don't know if you've come across that. And there's another one, Advanced Style, and these just sensational. Just look, not everyone's going to make that effort, but I just love seeing the images. But Glorious Broads is anything from artists to women in the street to whatever. That could be, could be just, they're not all like stand out, amazing kind of people, like they're not celebrity or in any way, but their conversations are fantastic, and it's just a real mix. I really like, I love Glorious Broads, and they have such huge followings, these sites. Now it is the US, but even so, it gives some indication of how, the interest in this. I mean, it's like we are so on trend. That's the thing. We are so on trend to be engaging in what we're engaging here in Silver Sirens. It's really, there's a lot of conversation, increasing conversation, which is great. All right, anybody else? Sorry, great. Thank you, Jalinda.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to?
I think Yvonne just put something in the chat. Sorry, what's that, Yvonne? Do you want to share?
Yeah, I do. I've got a bit of a throat thing, so I've got this Marlene Dietrich voice today. I hope you will know who Marlene Dietrich was. Yeah, I'm a great believer in trying to disrupt people's perceptions about aging. I never thought of saying, when people say to me, "Oh, you look good for your age," I've never had a pithy response, but now I can say, so do you. But I have a strategy, being a public transport user, of catching buses. And it so happens that my local bus route, I'm usually able to get a seat. And I'm one of these really odd people that reads a newspaper. So I actually sit down, take out my newspaper, and I open up the pages. So I am kind of establishing my right to sit in a space and take up the space. I
Yes.
don't know, if that bespeaks my own psychology, who knows? But yeah, I'm sure someone says, "Oh my God, look at that older woman. She's actually got a newspaper." You don't see that very often, do you? Because everyone's got a crooked neck. They're going to end up with widow's hump, as it used to be called, and looking down at their phones. It's incredible. So that's my little strategy.
Great. Disruptor.
Hmm.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Thank you. So we've just got time for one more. Anyone want to jump in? Let's see. Just unmute yourself if you do.
Hi, it's
Yeah,
Christina
go.
here.
Hi, Christina.
How are you, Tash?
Great.
I've got a question around, you said earlier on, just remember how you're feeling right now after we did that, close your
Yeah.
eyes, and what was that about?
Oh, it's more of it's to do that technique is really just to quieten you down, to bring you into the room. And I was just trying to capture for you, or for everyone to capture, just how they were feeling in the moment about their own body image, right now, today, and so forth. And then just whip around. So did you do that? Just whip around to see what people came up with? So did you do that?
I did. Yeah,
and
I
could you
did.
share that, or-
It actually takes up, it's right in the middle of what my notes, and I came up with tired.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
Yeah. But it's, okay, so my body image has never been an issue to me when I was a younger kid. I was always a stick figure, could
Mhm.
never put on weight, never had breasts, that kind of thing. But I was very athletic.
Mhm.
And so I suppose the only thing back in the day was my boobs weren't big enough compared to other girls because I was so athletic.
Yeah.
Then I became a mum and I had no problem because then they grew.
Yeah.
But everything else sort of grew with it, in time, I should say, and thanks to menopause. And that's when I suppose my body image started being an issue, but it wasn't my problem. It was actually more everybody around me. Oh, you look bloated. Oh, look at you. You should start going back to the gym. And it's really sad to think that, people very close to me were the main ones doing this. So I had to start stopping them. For example, a girlfriend of mine who wears a dress size of 22 was telling me every time, God, you're looking bloated today. And I'm like, you can't do that to me. And she's like, why? And I went, well, you can't. It's not being particular, but it's unfair to me.
Yeah.
So I am, and I'm struggling with it because it wasn't just being bloated, putting on weight, it was bloated, painful for me. So, and I've
Yeah.
gotten on top of that, which is good.
Yeah.
But I look at body image as women, as you were saying, should be the progress. And thanks to Faith and everyone else I've met along the way with Silver Sirens, embracing us as who we are as humans, not as, oh, look at me. When I was younger, I looked like this, and now I still look like that.
Yes,
We
I
are
do.
beautiful who we are. Look, I'm a little bit different to many women because my only body image that has upset me since I was born was the fact that I have a birthmark on my face.
Mm.
And it probably bothers me to this date because people still stop me and ask me, are you okay? What happened? Who hit you? And it's not. And to this, it's like, that's tiring for me. That's really tiring for me.
It is,
So, yeah.
it is tiring. Like energetically, it's draining, I think. And to be dealing with all of that stuff, and it's just not appropriate. That's the other thing.
No. So it's not just your age as such. Hardly anyone asks me my age, only because I don't act it, so they probably don't really care. But until I actually pull my hair out and get so many greys and I'm wearing them,
Yeah.
My
Or
doctor
very
the
on
other
trend.
day, sorry?
Grey is very on trend.
Oh, look, the other day, well, I haven't been able to afford the hairdresser for a while. And my doctor said the other day, oh my God, you are looking so Italian and so elegant with the grey. And I went, I know, it's becoming. I love it. I love
Yes.
it. So
Right.
I'm wearing it and I'm doing it up. I'm not hiding it back anymore, tying it up so you don't see as much.
Now, can I just jump in just for a moment, please, just
Yeah.
before we finish off? It is past time. I'm going to stay for another 5 minutes. If anyone needs to leave, please thank you. And I just want to thank Tat in case anyone needs to leave, and then we'll just go leave it open for another 5 minutes for any other questions and just some general chat. Okay? Thank you, Christina.
Thank you, Faith.
Can I just say quickly, because we've sort of got to the end of our allotted time. If anyone wants to reach out to me and extend this conversation, please do. I'm pretty easy to find, or Faith can
I'll
pass.
add your details in the recording.
Yeah.
Thanks, Faith.
Yeah. And that the work in the exercise, in the meditation and the exercise, that word that you came up with, I mean, that what I was trying to get to is like in a very short amount of time, almost like a trance state, which is what, it's kind of very short version of what we would do in hypnotherapy and so forth. And usually just what pops into your head is something that your subconscious is throwing at you. So even though we mightn't address it fully today, they can, that it's worth thinking about afterwards is, okay, so, and I'm interested that both Jalinda and Yvonne came up with what I regard as a positive response. And also, I want to emphasize that body image is not just about fat and thin. It encompasses so many things. Christina, you mentioned it until recently, like grey hair was one of them. That was kind of oh no, God, and that's a bad thing. But it's not. None of it's a bad thing. It's just different. Like a tree doesn't look the same as a 1,000-year-old tree as it did when it was a 6-month sapling, but it's still functional, beautiful, producing thing. And I think if we take our lead from sort of lots of things in nature, that's a help. I find that helpful as well, particularly around trees. I love trees.
Oh, so do I.
Yeah. Our bodies change when we're toddlers. We don't want our bodies to stay the same as we're toddlers. It just keeps evolving.
Yeah, that's right.
I think it's beautiful to try and thank and be grateful for where we've been, who we were. And there's, wow, look what I used to be able to do, but still say, what can I do and what am I going to do is going to be, and that will also be great. That will be part of my legacy. I mean, Faith knows I haven't always felt this way. I've had some trying times, but those trying times they were like a big boulder on top of me, just literally holding and hiding me. It wasn't about, I sort of lost my path for a bit. And I'm glad that I had people like Faith holding my hand along the way. I really do.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, Jalinda, I'll see you saying goodbye. Okay, so are we all good? We're going to start to wrap up. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank
Jodie, can I
you.
get you to stop the recording? I don't know if you can stop it at your end. So just before we go then, thank you so much, Taz, for another really informative session. And yeah, we look forward to